AITA didn't tell Mum about my wedding. Story 1. Throwaway for privacy. I 22F got married to Matt 22M last weekend. We met in university, same course, and we've been inseparable ever since. He's my best friend and the best partner one could ask for. We both live with my parents, or rather they live with us since my dad got an opportunity for work in our city, and they have not been able to rent somewhere yet. Matt's family are quite well off, so bought him a big 3-bed flat in our city when he started university, which I moved into when we got serious, and now my parents moved into the spare room which we used as a workout space. When I was a kid, my parents seemed largely disinterested in me. Over time, I stopped telling them about my life, hoping they'd become invested as I grew up, but it never really happened, and our relationship was what it was. I guess I've carried that sentiment into adulthood too. They don't know anything more than my job title and that I'm in a serious relationship. They've never once offered to take us to dinner or try get to know Matt, which I don't expect them to, but it would be nice. When it came to the wedding weekend, we invited our friends and my older siblings. I have 2 older sisters in Matt's family. I'm very close to them, basically a daughter they never had. I get invited to their family trips all the time, and I'm in their group chat. It was only an intimate wedding. Matt's parents hosted the ceremony, and we all went out after for dinner and drinks to celebrate. Both of us didn't want anything too extravagant, and we're more than happy with this. We had dinner at the restaurant we dined at for our 1-year anniversary. We told my parents that the flat was theirs for the weekend because we were going out to eat and celebrate with friends and staying in a hotel. I did not mention our wedding at all. I wanted them to ask more if they wanted to, but they didn't. Come today, I put up a framed photo of everyone in our wedding attire on the wall in the living room along with some other photos. My parents saw, asked and flipped and told me I should have said something. I wasn't in the mood and told them they never asked. My mom told me I should have said something and they would have come, but I just repeated myself and walked away. I'm now getting texts from my older sisters that Mom is really upset she missed out watching me get married, and I should apologize. Am I really an asshole for this? Our advice. It sounds like you were dealing with a complex situation. While it's understandable that your parents would be hurt for not being informed about your wedding, it's also clear that your relationship with them has been somewhat distant and you felt overlooked in the past. Communication is key in any relationship, but it's also important to recognize that sometimes people have different ways of showing interest or care. Your parents may not have been proactive in asking about your life, but that doesn't necessarily mean they wouldn't have wanted to be included in such an important event. In hindsight, it might have been better to have a conversation with your parents about your wedding plans, even if they didn't ask directly. This could have avoided the hurt feelings they're experiencing now. However, it's also understandable that you might have felt hesitant given your past experiences with them. You could consider talking to your parents now, explaining your perspective and apologizing for not including them in the wedding. You might also express your desire to have a closer relationship with them going forward. It's possible that this could help mend any hurt feelings and strengthen your connection with them in the long run. Ultimately, it's a nuanced situation, and while you might have handled it differently in hindsight, it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. It's about learning from the experience and striving to improve your relationships moving forward. First comment, AITA. It's your wedding and you can invite who you want. But this is super weird. You live with them and left for the weekend and never mentioned it. Then you put up a picture so they would know they had been excluded. This would be super strange behavior from a random roommate. Toward your parents? I can't imagine. This relationship is not healthy. I understand why your folks are upset, but in the long view, it's obviously their fault. They haven't been there for you. Nevertheless, the dynamic here is unhealthy. You're young still, and it sounds like you have every right to feel hurt. I suggest you encourage your folks to live elsewhere as soon as it's feasible. Then, I suggest you get therapy if you can afford it. It sounds like there's a lot wrapped up in this, and it won't all be sorted out on Reddit. All the best to you and congrats on your marriage, regardless of the conflict it might have generated. Second comment. Day, tagging on here to agree with the NTA verdict. People bleeding in the comments about, well, you didn't tell them, need to realize that they are asking a child who has parents who never inquire about her life or accomplishments, AITA, to once again volunteer information. If her parents had done something as simple as, hey honey, where are you going this weekend, maybe this story would have turned out differently. But they didn't, and this is a consistent pattern for them that has deeply hurt up. For my part, I can't imagine having parents who take such little interest in my life. If I mentioned to my grandmother that I was going away somewhere, she would definitely ask me where and what I was doing. Not only that, she'd probably ask me who I was going with and when I'd be back. LOL. Definitely overkill, but they didn't even ask extremely basic questions. That's lead to built up hurt and resentment for op, which has turned into this situation. Edit to add up mentions in one of her comments that she and her fiancé engagement rings. Not once did the parents notice or inquire. Most parents I know would be all over a development like that, and people in this comment section are acting as though it's normal and taboo for parents to ever inquire about their child's life. Story 2. AITA for telling my husband to listen to his kids because I'd be the one facing the repercussions if he doesn't. Not the a-hole. I 36F have been married to my husband Nick 42M for almost 6 years now. My husband has 2 teenagers with his ex-wife Lindsay 40F, and they have been divorced for 11 years. My stepdaughter is Melody 15F and my stepson is Jace 13M. My husband and I also have a 14-month-old son together. Nick and Lindsay have shared custody of my stepkids, and typically they can get along okay. It's not what anyone would call a friendly co-parenting relationship, and both can be stubborn with the other at times. I'd hate to see them forced to sit in a room all day to mediate, but it's not as bad as some divorced people I have seen in my life. My relationship with Lindsay is not good anymore. Around a year into my marriage, she grew annoyed that she and Nick would be harder to reach than me, and I was getting more calls from the kids' school when they were sick or whatever. Jace has some health issues, so it's a common enough thing for him. It made Lindsay extremely jealous, and on her custody time I would be calling her to try and get the kid who was sick, or to make plans with her. But her job made it difficult for her to be reached, hence me being the only one available to pick them up. Once we got to the point where she was jealous, there was no going back. I had hoped during COVID, and the kids not being in school, that it would maybe take care of some of the jealousy, but it didn't. And once she turned against me, so did the kids. We had a close relationship before, and now they don't want that with me. They complain if Nick leaves them with me for a couple of hours, or when I pick them up from school. They're not as open and talkative with me. I spoke to them, Nick spoke to them. He spoke to Lindsay, and we even did some family therapy together, but the relationship is not what it was, and it's not what it was becoming before the issues. I bring all this up because recently my husband learned that during his parenting time he will be out of town for 4 days in May, and those 4 days fall on his parenting time with my stepkids. He wants them to stay with me for the 4 days so he can see them for a few hours on the day he comes back before they go to their moms. The kids do not want to stay at the house with me during that time. They want to be with their mom. They were pissed he wanted them to stay with me. It started a fight between the 3 of them, and the kids told Lindsay, and she wants the kids to be with her, but the parenting agreement doesn't have a clause about this. I told Nick he should listen to the kids, and he told me it won't help anything if they refuse to stay in the house with me while he's not there. I told him he better listen to the kids because I'll be the one facing the repercussions of him not doing so. He told me I should want the kids with me, and I told him not when I'll be dealing with their anger and disrespect while he's gone. AITA? Why? Our advice. You're not the a-hole. It's understandable that you're concerned about facing the repercussions of your husband's decisions regarding the kids, especially given the strained relationship with their mother. Encouraging him to listen to the kids' preferences is reasonable, as their feelings should be considered in the situation. Ultimately, prioritizing the well-being and comfort of the children is important in navigating co-parenting dynamics. First comment. His husband's lack of intelligence is glaring. His ego seems to be doing all the thinking. Smile and nod, then discreetly inform the children's mother about his shortcomings, ensuring she understands. Politely assure him that you'll handle everything, but once he's out the door, promptly return the kids to their mother's care. Upon his return, if he's cranky about your actions, remind him that he can't simply dictate responsibilities, especially ones you don't legally hold. Lack of prior notice? You attempted to communicate, but he wasn't receptive. Accusations of deceit? Tough luck. His territorial behavior left you with no other choice. There's no sympathy here. He shouldn't expect you to shoulder childcare duties when the mother is willing and available. It's unfair and unreasonable. Perhaps it's time for his ex to revisit their legal agreement and secure first right of refusal rights to prevent such situations in the future. Second comment. They, NTA. If he wants to see them for a few hours after he gets back, he should go to their mom's house and take them out or something after he gets back. It's completely ridiculous for him to expect them to spend 4 days at your house when he isn't even there, and they don't want to be there. This is basically him saying he wants everyone to cater to his whims and convenience. Well, he shouldn't have had kids if that's what he wanted. Of course, if there were some sort of emergency, there might be special circumstances where you could step up to have them over, but it sounds like you are the type of person who would do the right thing in those circumstances already, so that isn't the issue here.